Okay, dear friends, one thing we have to understand at the very beginning of today's deliberations, that is, my plan for teaching this particular text out of place. What am I doing? And what do I really intend to do? You all know that I have already told you of to read particular chapters of the text. 12 persons from amongst yourself, from amongst you, have been specifically instructed to read both the chapters and the preface of Out of Place. I have also given you certain study topics, one of which, I mean, the title and its significance, I have already discussed in my last lecture. If you look at the way I am structuring these discussions of the topics, you will see one thing, that I am giving you the bare outline of the particular topic, how to go about it. Why? This is an innovation. I want you to participate in the teaching learning process. And that is why I yesterday pointed out certain aspects that you should take into consideration while analyzing, while assessing, and while coming to a conclusion about either the aptness of the title or otherwise. The title of this text is Out of Place. And I want you to understand how and why. Is the writer of the memoir, Edward W. Said, who happens to be, at least from worldly perspective, a very successful man, a famous man. Why and how does he feel to be out of place? Why and how does he feel the urge of talking about that out of placeness, that oddness that he has felt? Why does he put pen to paper? Why does he have to write this? I have pointed out certain things. For example, his heritage, his background, a Christian Arab, who in course of his life got displaced from one place to another quite often, and found out how there is an element of strangeness that others find out about him and he himself finds out about himself. He finds out about himself this element of strangeness. And this is what I would like you to fill in when you will complete your assignment, when you will read all the chapters and the preface, when you will give me the inputs. What have you found out from the text, from the individual chapters, individual portions of the text. How this strangeness acts, what causes it, and how what is the effect of this feeling. If you find out that this is really this is really that way, this really holds water, then obviously the title is apt. If you don't find it out, if you find out something else, then obviously the title will be inapt. And this is what I am going to follow. This approach I am going to follow in my teaching of in my discussion of the other topics for your study. So I want you to contribute. At the end of the week, when you will come up with your ideas, your insights, your inputs, I will again discuss these topics. And you guys will have to point out how in a particular chapter that you, A, B, or C, have studied, how in that particular chapter these aspects of the text are discussed. That way, what will happen? That way, you will be prepared to tackle any question that may be said. This is number one. That way, you will be able to interpret the text. Now, I could have given this task to one person, but because the text is not a very short one, it's not a short poem or lyric, it is a memoir running up to more than 350 pages. Obviously, I thought if I tell you to share the burden, that will help you out and that can also keep pace with our discussion of the text and various topics thereof. Now, see, one thing you have to understand. I have 4 assignments for semester 4. I have already discussed one. What was that? That was the kite runner, yes?
Yes, sir.
After this, the 2 other things that will be left out, one will be Americana, another will be, can anyone tell me which one?
Kamala Das, sir. Kamala Das.
Kamala Das's poems. So I have time at my disposal. So I want you to get into the process. Even if I take more than this week, say a little bit of the next week also, say 1 or 2 days, I don't think I will have any cause to worry about not being able to finish my assignments in time. And that is why I'm trying to go slow and incorporate your insights and suggestions into the teaching of this particular text. Yes. So, um, what are the other topics? I have already discussed the significance of the title, Out of Place. There is one thing, a geocritical reading of Out of Place, then a displaced autobiography, then illness and identity. These 3 I remember. What are the other 2?
Sir, politics and poetics of exile.
Politics and poetics.
The notion
Yes.
The notion of cultural
The
translation.
notion of cultural translation. So today I will
And as a
the other three I have already discussed. Cultural translation, exile, displaced autobiography, then what are the other things? Yes,
politics and poetry.
displaced autobiography, illness and identity, exile, geocritical reading, and the other one you have pointed out,
Cultural
exile,
translation and cycle.
cultural translation, exile. Yes, okay. Let me take up for our discussion today, as I have planned to do, a geocritical reading of out of this. Now, before I go into the nitty-gritties of the text, first thing, suppose you don't know anything about the text. Let us look at the title, Out of Place. Place, a geographical area that can be identified, that can be differentiated, pointed out from the entire area, the space that the world offers to us. So, place is that part of space that you can identify, that you have identified, that you have differentiated, that you have put within a particular area. Are you getting my point? For example, Malda is a place. Similarly, West Bengal is a place. Similarly, say Dadamor is a place. So, a place can be small, it can be large, and the smallness and largeness of this place will always be relative. Yes or no? Malda as a place is large, relatively speaking, larger than Dadamor. But Malda as a place is smaller than Kolkata. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Similarly, because you are talking about place as a noun, because you are talking about place as a circumscribed area of space, obviously, by means of your identification of that limit, of that area, of the borders or boundaries of that place, you are actually creating something out of something else. So obviously, there is a process, there is an act involved in it. And that is why the word place as a lexical item is used both as a noun and as a verb. If you place something, you put that thing in that place. Now, along with this area of placing, the reverse of it is also implied. So, along with the idea of placing, you get to hear, you get to see, you get to experience the idea of displacing, displacement, out of place, to come out of place, to feel out of place, to put out of place. In every case, you will see that there is some idea of an action that affects either the self or the others. This much we have understood. Or have we? I hope we have understood this much.
Yes, sir.
Now, you read geography. You have read geometry. You have heard about geology. So this geo means the earth. So obviously, geocriticism is a critical approach of looking at text or authors or phenomena by connecting literature to place, by connecting art to place. Just as eco-criticism talks about connecting the literature with the environment, geocriticism talks of connecting literature to the place. Why is it important? Why is connection between literature and place important? If we really understand this, if we really want to understand this, we will have to think about the significance of place. If place is defined as a circumscribed area of space, then obviously it is associated with human beings. The act of identifying the place, the act of settling the place, the act of building in that place, the act of making that place habitable or profitable, associate human beings with the place. I have used two words: habitable, where you can live in, and profitable, where you can derive profit from. Suppose you purchase a place, a piece of ground. You set up a factory. You set up a commercial establishment. You cultivate that place. Thereby, you are actually making that place profitable for you. Yet this you may be both individual and collective. Similarly, you may live there in a cottage or make a township out of it. settle it. We always hear about Badiyas or Shesha Badiyas. Shesha had settled down certain individuals, a community, at a particular place for a particular reason. So obviously what happens is, you are either making it habitable or profitable. So thereby you are creating certain associations with that place. Okay. Place does not mean a piece of ground. There are other things associated with the place. For example, there is the question of climate. My parents don't want to live in Malta. They don't want to come here because the climate of Siliguri is milder than that of Malta. This is one of their reasons for refusing to come here. So obviously climate is associated with a particular place, and the climate of one place may differ from that of another. You think about say Siberia and Sahara, the climates are different. Similarly, you think about Puri and Darjeeling. Not only the climate, there are other associations, historical associations, archaeological associations. One place may be the seat of an ancient civilization, as is Gaurbanga. Another place may be recently settled. Think about a place like Siliguri, relatively young. As a place, it is relatively young, relatively recently settled. So you see, we talk about discovering America. Was not America there before Columbus or Amerigo Vespucci went there? It was there. But since you are talking about a dominant group of people, say the Westerners, the Europeans, obviously because they were historically more powerful than the others, it was their arrival at America that is considered to be its discovery. So there are associations. There may be personal association. A particular house may be dear to someone because he was born there. Maybe his parents have passed away under that roof. Maybe he was married there. Maybe his son or daughter was born over there. So obviously there are so many mnemonic associations, association of memory with a particular place. So obviously, when we try to analyze, interpret, and assess the significance of a particular setting or place to a writer like Thomas Hardy or Robert Sade or Tarashankar Bandyopadhyay or a particular text such as Hasulibake Rupakatha or Mayor of Casterbridge, we actually come to understand how plays may shape the development of an author. Plays may inform the writing of a particular work. And geocriticism tries to find out the relationship between these two. Now, based on this idea, if we, as readers of literature, as students of literature, reread Edward Said's memoir Out of Place, we will be able to make a satisfactory study of it. We know Lebanon, that Jerusalem, Lebanon, Cairo, the various places in the United States, all are important factors. And I may make it bold to say, even characters. In forming and informing the consciousness of the credo of Edward Said. Till now, I have talked about the importance of this. Now, I would like to add another dimension. Don't we think that time has something to do with our response to a place? You think about a very simple poem by William Wordsworth. Yes, I have in mind lines written a few miles above Pinkerton. If you recall that poem, you will remember that the poet has visited River Wye, the River Wye, previously also. He is coming to the River Wye 5 years after his last visit. And it seems that he had also made earlier visits, still earlier visits to this place. He actually points out in this poem how his response to the place has evolved over time as he has matured, as he has garnered experience with the passage of time. His attitude to and response towards the place, the river, the landscape, the scenery, and its significance have changed entirely. At one time, he was a child. He bounded like a roe in the banks of the river Wye. Then, when he became a young man, he drank in the peace and beauty and tranquility and sensual details thereof. As he has matured, he is getting more philosophical, trying to find out what it really means. And thereby, he has certain spots of time, epiphanic understanding of the significance of this place as opposed to, and in the context of other places as well. So when we, for example, we know that long afterwards, after say 45 years, he revisits Lebanon, he revisits Jerusalem. So obviously, his response to this place says have also changed. Geocriticism does not shut its eyes to the way we respond to a surrounding differently with the passage of time. So these are things that will become more clear to you as you read and think about the individual chapters that you have been told to read. And I will also point them out after you have shared your inputs. So when you will read your individual chapters, just as you will concentrate on the 9 things, 9 aspects of the chapters, the text that I have pointed out that you should think about, you should also think about how that particular chapter, that particular text contributes to the significance of the title. How that particular chapter or the discussion therein makes this text a displaced autobiography. How that particular chapter or the description or the discussion thereof in contributes to the credentials of the text as a displaced autobiography, and so on. So today, in the course of this discussion, what I have done is I have tried to point out certain weapons, certain tools that you can use in your understanding of this topic.